A very good morning, students. So, today's topic is biodiversity, and it's a very important topic and a last topic in your chapter. That's a conservation of natural resource. In that chapter, it's a last topic, biodiversity. So, biodiversity is nothing but a variability among living organisms, variety and a variability of genus, species, and ecosystem between and within. So between or a between two ecosystems or a genus between species, that's a variety and a variability. It is the number of different organisms and their relative frequency in an ecosystem. The term biodiversity is coined by Walter Rosen in 1985. About 50 million species of plants, animals, and microbes are existing in the world. Among these, only 2 million are identified so far. There are 50 million species. In that, only 2 millions are identified. Biodiversity also includes variability of genus, varieties of variability of varieties, variability of species, variability of populations in different ecosystems, and variability in relative abundance of species. Knowledge of biodiversity is essential for sustainable utilization of resource. That's why we have to know what is biodiversity for the resource utilization of a natural resource. Biological resource providers nourishment, cloth, house, fuel, medicine, and revenue. So there are some levels of biodiversity. So first one is genetic diversity. I think you already heard all these terms. Genetic variation within species, both among individual or within a single population and among a geographical separated population. So that's a variation, that's a diversity. You already know diversity. In genetic diversity, that may be variation in within a species or a both among a individual or a among geographical separate populations. Next, species diversity, nothing but between a species here. Biodiversity covers the full range of species on earth, includes all the species, microbe, various viruses, bacteria to animals and plants. Next, ecosystem or a community diversity. Biodiversity include variation in the geographical communities. These include variation in the community in which the species lives, the ecosystem in which community exists, interaction within and between biotic components. That's nothing but an ecosystem or a community. The next, types of biodiversity. There are some different types of biodiversity. That's nothing but a first one, genetic diversity. Diversity in the alleles of a single gene. That's a genetic. Nothing but a diversity of the alleles of a single gene. It may cause some variations here. Next one, second one is organism diversity. Differences in morphology, anatomy, behavior of organisms. So nothing but some having different behavior in some species. That's in some organism. That's nothing but a organism diversity. Next, population diversity. Variation observed quantitative ecological parameters such as frequency, density, abundance, etc. So in a population, some population have a diversity, and another one is have different behavior and its density is different, frequency. And next, species diversity measures the species number variations in different genera at a particular habit. At a particular habit, there are different variations in genera. That's nothing but a species number variation in a one single population or in a one single habit. In a particular habit, some genera are present in that the species may vary. Community diversity, variability among community composition of and a ecosystem, and variation in the ecological interactions. So that's a community. You already know community, right? So ecosystem diversity deals with the variation of interdependence of biotic and abiotic factors in the ecosystem. As you already know, biotic and abiotic factors. Landscape diversity measures the species composition in different landscapes. Biogeographic diversity, diversity observed in geological and geographic history over a large period of time. That's nothing but a biogeographic diversity. So these are the some biodiversity types here. Next, measuring biodiversity. How we measure biodiversity? At a simplest level, biodiversity is the species richness. So basic we call in a simple way, that's a simple level is a species richness, and a various levels parameters of measuring the biodiversity. So first is a simple way is a species richness, and next various levels are there. That's nothing but alpha diversity. The first one is a alpha diversity, refers to number of species in a single community at a particular time. So in a particular time, the number of species in a single community, that's a alpha diversity. That type we call alpha diversity is better called as a species richness. Alpha diversity is used to compare number of species in different communities. So there are different communities. In that communities, the how many number of species are present, that's a species richness. We call it as a alpha diversity. So next, beta diversity. It is the measure of degree of change in species composition along with an environmental gradient. For example, beta diversity is high if the species composition of moss communities changes successively at higher evolution on a mountain side. So that's a beta diversity, nothing but a degree of change in species combination along with the environment. So how the environmental is going to change, like that species composition, their behavior is going to change. That's nothing but a beta diversity. Next come gamma diversity. Gamma diversity applies to a large geographic scale. Gamma diversity is the rate at which additional species are encountered as geographical replacements within a habitat type in different localities. Gamma diversity is the species turnover rate. Turnover with distance between sites of a similar habitat or with expanding geographic areas. So these are the types of biodiversities. Next, use of biodiversities. How we use biodiversity? Biodiversity, beside its ecological significance, provide a socio-economic asset to the nation. Use related to biodiversity can be grouped into three categories here. Productive use, productive for commercial purpose. Products commercially harvested from biodiversity for a exchange in market. For a economic purpose, for commercial, the productive value of biodiversity is concerned with national income. So here it is the biodiversity value is concerned with the national income. Biodiversity provides fuel, timber, fish, fodder, fruits, honey, cereals, medicinal plants, etc. In India, income from biodiversity is nearly 305. That's nothing but a 736.88 billion rupees. Right. Next, consumptive uses. Consumptive uses of biodiversity deals with natural products that are consumed directly. So, as a raw, we consume a natural products, right? They are a goods which do not come under normal circulation of trade. For example, non-timber forest products, honey collected from forest, medicine collected from a forest, nothing but a directly consumed here. Natural products. Next comes indirect uses. That's the last one. Indirect use is the most significant use of biodiversity. This value is related primarily with function of ecosystem. That's why we use it. Biodiversity we use in an indirect way. Biodiversity is very essential for ecological balance, constancy of climatic features and soil maintenance. Next comes significance of biodiversity or importance of biodiversity. Why biodiversity is important? Biodiversity indicates variation of life forms. That's a species, ecosystem, biome. Biodiversity indicate the health of ecosystem. Biodiversity is in part of a functioning of climate. So in the climatic changes also biodiversity is a part. Biodiversity provides service like air quality and a purity, climate and seasons, water purification, pollution and seed dispersal, prevention of erosion. So biodiversity provide all these things and non-material benefits of biodiversity as spiritual value, aesthetic values, education and a knowledge system. In agriculture, biodiversity assists in the recovery of major cultivator when it is under severe attack of disease or pest. Biodiversity also acts as a storehouse of germplasm for a commercially important plants. So nothing but a preservation here, right? Storage or a storehouse, we call it as a storehouse also. So about 80% of human food supply comes from a 20 plants, but human uses at least 40,000 species. All of them are the part of biodiversity. So for our commercial economic purpose or for our edible purpose, we use so many plants here. That's also part of the biodiversity. There are more plant products to be discovered from a biodiversity, and they are kept hidden in the depth of a species richness. I already told you what is species richness. Biodiversity also support in a drug discovery for modern disease. So it is also used in medicine, and it is used to discover a new medicine. Most of the drugs which are now in commercial trade are derived directly or indirectly from biological, nothing but a biodiversity. About 50% of drugs used in US are derived from a biodiversity. So in the US they use so many drugs, right? That's a part of the biodiversity only. According to World Health Organization, 80% of world population depends on medicine from a nature. That's nothing but a they are depend on a biodiversity. That's integral part of the nature. Many industrial materials are deriving from biological sources. They include building material, fibers, dyes, rubber, and oil. That's all are a part of the biodiversity. Biodiversity provides security of resources such as water, timber, paper, fiber, and food. It also provides security for all these things. So these are some importance or significance of the biodiversity. I think you all understood now what is biodiversity and the levels of biodiversity, types of biodiversity, importance of a biodiversity. Thank you.